The Wells Cathedral organ was built by the Victorian organ builder Father Henry Willis in 1857. Henry Willis was responsible for the organs of Lincoln Cathedral, Durham Cathedral and Salisbury Cathedral, and the latter two were built in exactly the same year in 1877. But the organ here dates from 1857. Father Willis came back in 1891 to equip the organ with a better kind of action, a pneumatic action, and added a pedal board on at the time. Harrison and Harrison came to Wells in 1910 when they took the Willis organ and completely rebuilt it into a new cathedral instrument fit for the purpose of the day. In 1973 the organ was rebuilt and also gained its casework, which you can see behind me. At the time, musical tastes had changed, repertoire had changed, the way we used the instruments had changed. We added a lot more baroque sounds to the organ. Part of the 1973 work also equipped the organ with an electro-pneumatic action whereby the keyboards were made to be electrical switches operating pneumatic action inside the organ. So the organ here has just over 4,000 pipes in it, and we have a blower which generates the wind, which is stored in reservoirs or bellows. And then each bellows is connected to a different section of the organ through a wind trunk or a wind duct which carries the wind to the different parts of the organ. The organ has 4 manuals or 4 keyboards and a 5th keyboard which you play with your feet. And if you imagine the organ console upstairs as it's like the flight deck of a 747, if you like, with lots of controls and switches, and the organist is rather like an artist painting a picture in a musical sense by the way they combine the different sounds together. So we're standing here on the very top of the organ on the pulpitum screen. We've got the nave over there to my right and we've got the choir over there to the left. And up here we've got some of the newer pipe work that was added to the organ in the 1970s. And you get an idea of just how dirty the organ is here. I can actually get the dirt and pick it up like that. And the organ hasn't been cleaned since the 1970s. And the dirt has a detrimental effect to the way the pipes sound. The dirt goes inside the pipes and settles on what we call the languid, covers the flue, so the organ loses its brightness. And all of these little pipes, these are like little recorders. You can pick any one of these out, and each one of these is a musical instrument in its own right, and you can blow them and it goes back in its hole. And so each one of these pipes would have to be taken out and have its tuning slide taken off and be washed in a bath with soapy water so that the organ retains its brightness. Up here we have some of the smallest pipes in the organ, and this one here is perhaps the smallest pipe in the organ, which is the size of a pencil and plays a really high-pitched note. Whilst I can hold the smallest pipe in my hand here, the largest pipe in the organ is just over my shoulder in the case over there, the pedal diapason, and that is 16 feet long. So we're now in the heart of the organ. This is the great organ, and this is played from the 2nd keyboard from the bottom. And all of these different pipes you see around are different stops on the organ. So when you draw the 16-foot double open diapason, for instance, you would get these pipes coming into play here. And that's one stop on the organ. And there's one pipe for every note on the keyboard. 61 notes on the keyboard and 61 pipes up here for each stop. Whereas a piano is affected by the way you touch the keys, on an organ like this, it doesn't matter how you put the key down, you're just creating a switch, and therefore it depends how many stops are drawn as to how loud the organ is. This organ has 4 manuals. We have the choir organ on the bottom, we have the great organ, which are these pipes here. We also have the swell organ and the solo organ downstairs. And these top 2 keyboards have expression built into them. And what we have here is a giant wooden box full of pipes. This is the swell organ. And they can effectively make the organ quieter by closing these shutters to trap the sound in. And then if the organist wants to have a crescendo, they can open these shutters bit by bit till they're wide open and then unleash a thing called full swell, which is an organ term for making the organ sound like the lines have come out the box. This is the brain of the organ, if you like. This is what we call the transmission system. All of this equipment is what you would deem today as old technology, and all needs to be updated with a modern system, which will be microprocessor based, which is updatable and much more compact. Here we are sitting at the organ console where the organist drives the organ. Each keyboard has its own set of pipes, and nothing will happen on an organ until you draw a stop, and that's where the name stop comes from, because when you push the stop in, you're stopping the wind to the pipes, but if you pull a stop out, you then get a noise. In a cathedral, the organ is used much more than that it is in a parish church, and the playing surfaces get very worn. And if we look at the side-to-side play we have on the keys, you can hear all of these rattles and things. This is the most played in area on any organ, so the keyboards need to be refurbished. And if you look at the thumb pistons, you can see they've got numbers on them. The black engraving, the filling of the engraving's worn away, so you can only just read these numbers here. All that needs to be refreshed. The work which the cathedral are now facing is a once-in-a-generation amount of work. The cathedral organ hasn't really been touched since 1973. There's been small pieces of what we call housekeeping work done when the organ sprung a leak in the wind system. The blowers are outside the organ on the north side of the cathedral in the chamber, and the wind's generated there, comes up into the organ, and it's stored in what we call reservoirs. Some people call them bellows. And it is the leather on these accumulative leakage that you can hear in the kind of hissing noise in the background, especially in the choir, where it sounds like you're in a wind tunnel during evensong, and necessitates the organ needing to be switched off during sermons or unaccompanied repertoire. When the organ comes back after its rebuild, that'll be all absolutely wind tight and you won't need to switch it off. But it's not just the bellows inside the organ that need to be re-leathered, it's all of the key actions, all the leather work associated with that. There's all the electrical side of things which make the organ operate, are now all tired and need replacing. So this is an upgrade which will set the organ up for the next 50 years. And to see the organ restored and brought back to its former glory is a tantalising and fantastic opportunity.